If we could talk to the animals, learn all their languages, maybe take an animal degree. If I conferred with our furry friends, man to animal, think of the amazing repartee. If I could walk with the animals, talk with the animals, grunt and squeak and squawk with the animals, and they could talk to me.
Hello and welcome to Pet Watch, a monthly program about the Williamson County Animal Center. We have a very special show today, and my guest is Amy Simcik, who's one of our foster parents who volunteers with the shelter, and she's currently fostering these 6 little kittens. We want to talk about what fostering involves today, but they are awake and active, and I want people to see exactly how small some of these kittens are. How did you decide to become a foster for us?
Well, it's been probably 5 years now, and it was actually a personal rescue. A cat that was displaced from the flood. I think that was about 5 years ago.
Right.
I found, and she was pregnant, and so I registered her through the shelter, but I actually kept the mama kitty in one of my stores, and she had babies there. And all of a sudden, within a week, I had pre-adopted out these babies in the store, and from that point on, I decided to foster to adopt through my retail establishments, which then led to bottle feeding babies and helping with the more difficult ones that needed to get out of their cages so that they could stretch their legs.
Right. So there are a variety of reasons that a cat or dog might go to foster, and one of them is, these are the prime example of what we call bottle babies.
Yes.
What might bring a litter of kittens to this situation where they have no mother to nurse?
Well, in this case, these were two. Actually, I've got another one that's in this litter, but this particular case, they were found in an attic. I believe it was a home that was being built, and the kittens were found, and so the family kept an eye out for the mother, and she never showed back up after a few days. So they brought these babies in, and I've had them since Monday, so they were pretty hungry. They're getting settled in now, getting used to the bottle and everything, but they didn't know what to do.
Better than being lost in an attic by yourself in this heat. They wouldn't have lived much longer,
no,
I'm sure.
Absolutely not.
Now, how old are these kittens? Do you know?
Yeah, these are just over 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks.
The process is when we at Williamson County Animal Center come across a litter of kittens who are basically newborn and helpless, who either have a mother who's not present, can't be found, or something has happened to the mother, or she won't nurse, or she rejects them. We call them fosters like you.
Yep.
I think the shelter currently has about 40 people or more who specifically do kitten fostering, and there are several hundred maybe out in foster right now. Plus,
that sounds about right.
I know we took in 250 cats and kittens in May, and we're on track for June, already 200. So this is what we call the kitten season.
Yes, we are thick in it.
Yeah, we're in the thick of it, and the problem is that kittens can't be adopted until they're a certain age, old enough to eat on their own, weigh a certain amount, pass our veterinarian's test, and survive on their own and eat solid food for several months before they can be adopted.
Yeah.
The other part of it that a lot of people don't understand is that these guys can't eat solid food when they're first born. So that's what these little bottles are that Amy has brought today. So we, from time to time, may if a kitten takes a notion like a baby.
Yep, in fact, this one I'm just getting ready.
Okay, somebody wants to be fed, so she's going to do that. You can see that this is a lot of work. These guys were eating about every 2 hours, you said, and now they've gotten to 3.
Yeah, they've been going about 3. I think they're getting close to being about 4 hours apart. So it's quite a commitment if you decide to take this on. We desperately always need more people willing to do the bottle feeding, because we don't have just a lot that do it, and we've been pretty much back to back with the litters. So
yeah, it doesn't stop, and we have a lot of kittens ready for adoption at the shelter. But like I said, there are maybe 100 and numerous litters that equal about 100 kittens of this size or just slightly bigger that aren't ready for adoption. So we're so indebted to people like you who are willing to care for these guys and girls until they're old enough to be adopted. They've just gotten really active.
Yeah, and they know. Usually they just they're all over me. So
Yeah.
I usually just get on the floor and sit with them and let them kind of crawl on me. So that's why maybe I started a bad thing, but
and they're kind of like
what they're used to.
They're kind of like human babies. You feed them.
Yeah.
They're very demanding, and you feed them a little bit. And you said they eat about 2 tablespoons of formula every time.
Yeah.
But you've already seen these put on weight in 4
yes,
days.
And they will immediately imprint on their new foster mamas. So it doesn't take long, which does make it a little more difficult when you're doing bottle babies and giving them up. You know, it's
Sure.
they become like your kids for a while. I mean, you're up all night with them, and
Yeah.
you know each of their distinct personalities, and you know exactly how they like to hold the bottle and all of that. So it's
But they will be so much better taken care of this way than they would have been abandoned.
definitely. Yeah.
Now they're being fed a proper formula. There's a kitten replacement formula like baby formula.
Yep, called KMR, and we're always in need of that for donations at the shelter. Just they
go to a
through
pet
so
store
many.
and say, I need a can of KMR. It's a powder.
It's a powder. I prefer the powder, but we take the powder or the can that's already pre-mixed. But I find the powder digests a little bit easier. It's not quite as thick, so I've always been using the powder kind myself. So.
And the shelter, for our fosters, the shelter provides veterinary care, any medicines the cats might need, all the supplies.
Yep.
So it's just your time and your love that you give, and we provide the other parts. So it's not an expensive thing to do as far as money goes, but it is time consuming. Another classification of pets that need fosters are the nursing moms, simply because we don't have a place in the shelter to keep a nursing mom and her litter.
Yes, that's a big commitment too.
Have you done that before?
I have, yes.
Okay.
I've taken nursing moms, and the one I initially had was my first foster, and she was the mother and she ended up having 6 kittens. So that takes a little more work, but the mother does all this stuff. So you just have to provide a nice place for her to be that's quiet and calm, and just not a lot of noise. I mean, it's maybe it could even be the size of a utility room or something like that, but just somewhere.
Right. So it's not like when you're fostering, the animals that you're fostering don't necessarily have to integrate with your home pets.
No.
You can put them in a spare bedroom. A cat and its litter can live in a large kennel.
Yes.
Or any other kind of, I guess, to jump out of a box, don't they? You learn that. But if you have a spare room or a utility room that's heated and air conditioned, you can do it there.
That's right. We always just keep a large kennel for the kittens, and I've got other kittens that I foster that are older, so I actually have them in a room set up, so they get their own little setup.
So they have a playroom.
Yeah, they have a playroom.
And your house is like one bottle kitties in this room, older kittens.
Absolutely. And when you have kids too, you can involve your children. My kids are both volunteers at the shelter, but they're used to a revolving door of cats and kittens, and they love it. They get somebody new every week, and they take turns switching off which one goes in whose room.
We could have a future veterinarian in this bunch,
Exactly.
because if they grew up with you, you used to have Harmony Home store in Franklin. Yeah, I think a lot of people remember that store. And so now you've got, I don't know what we need to call your house, like Kitty Manor? Or
it's more like a zoo, but because I have my own cats and dogs too. But but they're wonderful. They even those, they're all rescue, and they seem to know when you get into this. They get used to it just like your family, so they come to understand that there's a new strange noise coming through that door, and I do mix, a lot of times when they're really sweet kittens or cats, I let my cats go in and play with them and that kind of thing. It helps socialize them, and it's great with that.
Well, you learn a lot about the older animals that you fostered. That's another category.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're special needs. Let's talk about that. Amy is currently fostering a special needs cat called Kitty Cat.
Real original.
Real original. We have. Sometimes it's a long day at the shelter. Oh, just call him Kitty Cat.
Right now we have a kitty cat. We have a kitty. We had a Mr. Kitty. So we need to get some.
So what is Kitty Cat's special need, and how are you caring for him at home? And tell us about that.
Okay. Yeah, Kitty Cat was a female tortoiseshell that came into our shelter, and she had full sight, but she was a senior. And we've had a terrible outbreak of upper respiratory infection, and it's quite awful this year, the strain that's been going around, because it's been getting in their eyes and leading to some quick eye infections. And her eye actually ruptured, and they had to remove her eye at Blue Pearl. So she came back, and her other eye was kind of clouded over, and they really assessed that she was almost completely blind.
Oh.
So we tried to adopt her there, but it was getting harder and harder for her, to see her in the kennel. She was definitely one that just needed to be in a place, and to find a foster was difficult. So I ended up taking her into one of my spare bedrooms, and came to find out that she's probably only 70 to 80% blind. She jumps up on the bed. She maneuvers around table legs. We wouldn't have known that.
So
if
you've
we didn't-
discovered that
right?
by
If we
having
didn't get her off site.
Mhm.
There are things about her personality
Sure.
now that.
Sure.
And we actually have a lady that's going to come and meet me and look at her that saw her on Pet Finder, and we're able to put an updated bio and get
Wow.
in touch. So
Wow.
it's going to end up. I think she's going to end up finding a good home.
Upper-
I'm never going to bring her back.
To upper respiratory doesn't sound that bad.
Right.
We have upper respiratory infections and we get over them. And
Basically a cold.
yeah, it's a cold. And in cats, it's so different.
Yeah.
They're especially when they're tiny, and it can spread like wildfire. So the shelter has a constant vigilance to try to separate everybody that is ill from. And it just can be a simple sneeze from a cat that would have us consult a veterinarian to say,
Absolutely.
this, we
Yeah.
need to get this cat out of here. And in a litter like this, I could see where it could spread so quickly and actually lose their eyesight.
Yes, we've had and cats and kittens both. We've had one kitten that's likely going to lose his eye pretty soon, and he's in foster. And it's really hard with the little ones especially, but yeah, it's just been a terrible strain of it. I haven't seen anything like this where it's really
Wow.
getting into the eyes like this. So
Right.
yeah, when we hear a sneeze, we all just freeze, and
it changes things. It changes the dynamic.
It does.
You have to consult back with our veterinarian, Dr. Birch, get the medications,
Yes.
and then you're not just feeding. You're trying to administer medications to however many kittens. Do they give it on a preventative basis if one of the kittens has something?
Yeah, they usually pretty much will
Yeah.
start them on. But what we try to do is if we hear one kitten sneezing, for a while I had about 8 from different litters that I was fostering that were all sick. And when I'd hear one sneeze and the other one seemed okay, I tried to isolate that one immediately, and I called it sick bay at my house, but I had 8 of them in sick bay. They were all and they all kind of formed their own litter.
Yeah.
And we've adopted all but 3 of them, so I've got 3 left in that little motley crew. But they were sick together and got well together and
Good.
formed a bond. So it is good if we can get fosters that can come in and isolate the kittens to where it doesn't erupt so bad. Because sometimes another litter mate might not get it.
Yeah,
And it's not.
and it's interesting, this side of animal care, this side of a shelter that nobody sees, but yet here 40 to 50 people like you today are at home with these kitties.
Yeah.
And nobody knows that, and I think that's why it's great to bring this to light and let people know. Now, if a person is interested in being a foster, I'm sure there are a lot of people we've gone over. They don't have to inhibit you at home. You don't have to mix them with your pets.
Right.
We'll provide the expense part. You have to provide the time and commitment.
Right.
But you do have access to our foster coordinator, Amber, and our veterinarian, and of course anybody else at the shelter that you need help from. So that's a good thing for fosters to know. You're not out there alone.
Yes.
And a new foster is going to need somebody experienced like you to say, oh, here's what I did when that happened to me the first time. So I think it's interesting that the first step, they need to do an orientation session, right?
Yes, they can attend. It's actually a volunteer orientation, but we touch on fostering as well in there because it's not always a good fit. I do both, but some people either choose to volunteer or to foster because it's a big commitment either way.
Right.
And both the volunteers and fosters, we're always in contact with each other anyway. But yeah, they can come in and kind of decide what role they really see themselves filling in the shelter and where their strengths are. And a lot of them start out as volunteers and just like me, just start taking the hard luck cases into their home, and then sometimes they may decide to do that full time based on that. So.
Well, what about the emotional side of being a foster? The attachment problem, which can occur.
Yeah, that's a hard one, and I try not to sugarcoat that with anybody because you get attached, and even though you find wonderful homes, most of the bottle babies, they're so cute, they'll pre-adopt, most likely. People will just see them and put their name on them, and I almost always pre-adopt all my bottle babies, but it gets hard, and
You mean you find people yourself that are willing to adopt?
Yeah,
Okay.
usually because I'm at the shelter a lot. People come in and see me feeding them, or word of mouth, or I might post something on Facebook about it, and usually I'll have people saying, "Oh, I want this one.
I
or
want that one."
and then
Yeah.
I can kind of screen a little bit harder. I mean, I
Yeah.
might give them a little harder
Now,
screening on these.
you know this litter pretty well. Now, you tell me
Yes.
that the tabbies, what are their names?
Yeah, this is Melvin, and the other orange one is Marcel. And then I've got Junebug, and I've got, let's see, Elsa, and this other one I haven't named yet. I haven't quite figured out. I try to get a little, Elsa from Born Free, because she looks kind of lioness a little bit in the face, but yep, still unnamed on the fifth one.
That's okay. And what they're getting settled down now like babies. They get their tummies full, and then there's always one
Melvin's
rebel
always-
rouser
yeah.
here at the end.
That's Melvin. He always wants to
a little
top
bit,
it off.
a little bit more.
Yeah, it's never enough.
And two of these were from another litter, so this is a mixed litter.
Yeah, actually, this all is one litter.
It's
and
one,
Then I have
okay.
I have one that he's more sick. That's off to the side here, but he's
Okay.
integrated with this litter.
Okay, and we've even had nursing moms who have their own 4 kittens and took 2 others that were found somewhere, and she's
Yes.
nursing them and taking them in.
The mother cats are amazing. We had another case earlier this year where it was a feral cat came into the shelter, and she just panicked. She wouldn't even clean the babies. She had them, and she was just terrified, so she wouldn't nurse them or clean them, and it was kind of an emergency. So we took those 4 kittens, and luckily had just had a mama in there that had a litter, so we put them with her, and she took them, and she ended up with 8 kittens total.
Wow.
But
were they all
did it.
adoptable at the end of that, or was
Yes, yeah.
so the feral nature does not necessarily carry through? And in case
No.
people don't know, feral cats are wilder cats who have not
Yes.
been living in a home with people. They're usually found behind stores, in hidden places in the bushes. They live out in the wild.
Yeah.
They live in a barn sometimes, or on your property, but
Yes.
they don't receive the
Right.
human touch. They can be a little hostile, and people that
Yes.
have farms and barns and horses and property have all seen feral cats.
Yeah.
And they know what we're talking about. But we have a program where we will humanely trap the feral, spay and neuter the animal so it doesn't have other litters, and then you said we took their kittens and made them adoptable kittens.
Yeah, the kittens will become, and a lot of times we can tame the mother in the process too.
Wow.
Once she sees us handling her babies and how loving we are with those, then I'll get to where I can stroke and touch some of the feral mamas, which is good.
That's wonderful. So even if you're feral, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't change. The cat can't change to
Absolutely.
be
yeah.
a lovable
and which is
pet.
that's a whole other area of
Sure.
fostering with
Yeah.
sometimes we get some that really could turn adoptable that and a lot of times we get cats in that are just misunderstood, and I've been going through a series of fostering cats that were deemed to be wild, and they would bite and scratch up the staff, and really we could not put them out on the adoption floor like that. So the only option would be a feral colony or maybe a barn type situation. But I've been taking them home and just trying to see is this indeed a feral cat, or is it just acting out and scared? And 2 of them I've got into my home and found out, oh no, these are used to homes. They got in and they were just a loving, beautiful cat. And once they got used to love and everything, they were able to come back a little bit easier into the shelter, and I was able to get videotape. That way, if they do get a little more wild back in their cage, which some of them do, then I can say, this isn't what you're going to get. This is what you're going to get.
Just like dogs, the kennel that you're in at the shelter is a temporary home,
Yes.
but it can cause such stress. The confinement can cause stress in certain animals, and both dogs and cats don't
Right.
behave at the shelter.
Yes.
And we have the same way where a dog might get, one volunteer finds the dog a little bit aggressive on the leash
Right.
and not leash trainable, and the other one is walking it calmly across the
Yeah.
field that afternoon. So it depends on the personality,
Yep.
and
Energy
you have a
plays a big
gift.
part,
Do you
so-
know that? You have a real gift to be able to take a cat
Yeah.
that even in the shelter environment, our staff's seeing so many animals every day. It's hard for us to stop and spend. We can't take everything home and try it out for 8 hours on the couch with our other animals and see how it reacts.
Right.
So it's wonderful because the information you can provide to an adopter is invaluable.
It really is, and even to give further video footage and all, because adopters come in and they typically look at the kennels and they want some interaction. They want a bond with that animal, and we're trying to educate adopters now that you're overlooking the gems of the whole place by going about it that way.
Right.
We try to get them into visitation rooms or one-on-one when we can, but even some of them that are so scared, or dogs that have had kennel rage, can be very difficult to socialize with them. We know once they get off site that they're going to be the best ever because we've done that with them, but it's all about getting the word out and really speaking to people about just, look at what you could be getting.
And your idea about videotaping at home and then sending us the tape, so when people go on adoptwcac.org to look at animals, there might be some videotape associated with that pet that you took at home while you were fostering. So that gives them a realistic point of view.
Right.
It's not just a posed picture that we were able to get that day at the shelter. It's a real fun. You having fun with an animal and an animal acting in a normal way. Right. And that's difficult to recreate.
Absolutely.
At the shelter.
Yeah, it is very difficult. We try to get the ones that are adjusted there, we'll try to get video of them out on the we call it the catio, but that's our little patio for the cats.
Right.
And we'll try to get them playing out there and get some footage. But those are generally the ones that'll stick their paw out and play with adopters and that kind. So
those are generally the adult cats that they know they're dogs walking by, but I don't care. But these guys, I don't know how they would not react well, probably to all those stimuli. They're not used to it. So tell me about these guys now. What is the process? You're in week whatever of their life?
They're probably about 2.5
2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. And now how long will you keep them in your care?
I'll keep them probably at least 4 more weeks. They usually become adoptable between 6 and 8 weeks, but more likely 8 weeks old is when they'll start eating hard food. And once they start eating hard food, that's kind of the sign that they're ready. I mean, once we'll go from a little from formula to adding rice cereal into the formula, and then into kind of a mush, and then wet food, then dry food. So and what's really difficult about it is you can get them over the hump with the formula where their bodies have adjusted, but you go through several more adjustment periods when they start eating solid food, and the kittens that when their digestive system hits with the solid food, a lot of times it reacts, and they can have severe diarrhea, and once that happens they can go downhill very fast. So it is a big responsibility. It doesn't get necessarily easier once they're on solid food, because then you've got more hurdles to kind of get through with them. But I've got a lot of tricks.
Yeah, if they were still with their mother, how long would they be nursing on the mom?
Probably about 4 weeks. She starts weaning them usually at 4 weeks.
And then you would attempt to add solid food to their diet in that environment.
Yeah.
And I know that we have several special soft foods that the kittens like that the shelter's always in need of.
Yeah.
What are they? It's 9 Lives.
Yeah, they use several different kinds there. I've actually, the last litter I started using Nutro. They came out with a kitten paste that I really like, and it was really easy on their digestive system.
And I understand you might have to feed it to them off your little finger at first.
Yeah,
because
I'll use a lot of times I'll stick it on the end of this and use this almost like a spoon and let them get used to it, and then
give them a little taste of
whatever works.
Here's what real food tastes like. Yeah,
I've used little miniature spoons and done it like that. So yeah, everybody's different as far as what works, but it's a blessing to be able to do this. It's a gift to be able to do this. I know people think that we're the gift to them, but it ends up being the other way around.
Well, it's both.
Just, yeah.
And the other thing is you've saved their lives, basically. Yes. So we've saved more cats, and we're not going to be producing more cats, because these guys will all be spayed or neutered, either before they're adopted, or if they're not weigh enough at the time and the veterinarian determines they need to grow a little bit more.
Yes.
We will make adopters put a deposit down and bring them back, and we will do the spay neuter then.
Yes, so
that's
a very important program.
Now they're behaving so sweet.
They just needed some milk in their bellies.
There's a little pile of sleeping kittens.
It's a little. A beautiful little mosaic.
Oh, I know. I appreciate your love for these animals. Yeah. It's amazing, and I know you are an inspiration, and I hope you'll inspire other people to want to become fosters.
I encourage everybody to try, and I will be glad to coach anybody that's willing through any process, any part of it, whether it's adult cats all the way down to bottle babies. So.
And another thing that the shelter has that I want to mention real quick is foster with intent. And that's like if you see a dog but you want to take it home and try it out, and everything seems okay, but you just want to be sure with an adult cat or an adult dog, we're happy to do foster with intent. I want to remind our audience that summer is here, and our theme at the shelter is Find Your Treasure. And right now our treasure boxes are full of kittens. I want to tell you that right now the Kitten Caboodle special is on. If you adopt a kitten from our shelter for $50, and that includes all the vaccinations, the spay neuter, and so forth, you will get a second kitten free if you want one. So we'll provide a free playmate.
That's great. And a lot of people taking advantage of it.
A lot of people do take advantage of it. It's wonderful to see two kitties that have been born together and bonded go to a new home together. So if you are interested in a kitten, please let us know. We've got plenty to pick from, every color, markings, you name it, we've got it. I want to mention a couple of July events that are coming up. We'll be at the Nashville Pet Expo on July 11th at the fairgrounds. That is a huge event with vendors, contests. It's one place where you can bring your dog once a year, but be sure to look at their website, NashvillePetExpo.com, on the rules for bringing your animal out. We hope to see you there. Then on July the 18th, we'll be at the Hometown Pet Stores in Franklin. On the 25th at the Brentwood Library on Concord Road, and on July the 26th, we'll be at the Cat Shop and Dog Store in Nashville for their Feline Fiesta. If you're thinking of adopting, we are located right next to Franklin High School at 106 Claude Yates Drive. Just follow the paw marks down the road. We've got some doggy paws and kitty paws to lead you right to our door. If you'd like to volunteer and learn more about volunteering for fostering, caring for animals, helping at events, the first thing you do is come to an orientation. You go to adoptwcac.org. At the top of that page on the web page, you click volunteer, and you'll see that our July dog training class is the 21st at 6:30 p.m. and our cat training class is the 25th at 3:30. So I hope to see you at one of those events. If you'd like to invite us out to your business or a community event, please call us at the shelter because we'd love to come. And if you look on Amazon.com, we have a wish list, and it has these kitty formula and kitten foods that we need. And also on our Facebook page, we constantly update our needs at the shelter, and we so appreciate the Williamson County community responding to those needs. I want to thank Amy again.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it.
We enjoyed it. The kitties are happy, and everybody's happy.
This one was trying to imprint on you a little bit ago.
Oh, no.
So I was like, don't make eye contact. Okay. I warned you about that.
I'm trying. It's hard. They're so cute. Appreciate it so much. And I hope you learned something today about fostering, especially these kittens and the commitment Amy has. And I hope you'll join us next time on Pet Watch.
If we could talk to the animals, learn all their languages, maybe take an animal degree. If I conferred with our furry friends, man to animal, think of the amazing repartee. If I could walk with the animals, talk with the animals, grunt and squeak and squawk with the animals, and they could talk to me.
If you're looking for a loan or you'd like to buy a home, when you want to land a job or your identity's been robbed, annualcreditreport.com, the one you can depend upon. Check your credit to review all your bills and payments too. It's as easy as can be and it's absolutely free. Hey! Annualcreditreport.com, the one you can depend upon. Beware of the others, there's always a catch. They claim to be free, but strings are attached. Their ads can be funny, so don't be deceived. Hold on to your money, there's one site you need. AnnualCreditReport.com, the one you can depend upon. AnnualCreditReport.com, the one you can depend upon.
AnnualCreditReport.com. No hidden fees, absolutely free.